Good morning. Boy, am I happy to be here this morning. I am looking for my clicker, and I've got it. Well, I was on an elevator this morning, and I ran into a middle-aged woman, and she looked at my certificate that I was wearing, my anti-aging certificate, and she asked me which conference I was going to this morning. And I explained to her that I was going to the anti-aging conference, and she said, "Would you mind if I rub up against you?" That took place early this morning. I'd like to thank Dr. Bob Goldman. As he had told you, he's been a childhood friend. We were friends since 9 years old. He was successful playing football then and obviously very successful today. I'd also like to thank Dr. Ronald Klatz and all the other guest speakers, doctors, vendors, sponsors of the Anti-Aging Conference. The real secret of this success of this conference is of you taking something and leaving with it. I want to share something with you that none of you probably know, and that is that Dr. Bob is really 85 years old. Are you ready for the ride of a lifetime? All right. I'm going to share with you my ride. My book, it's a jungle in there. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. It took me over 3 years to write. For instance, Dr. Bob probably has over 30 books that he has published, and it hasn't taken him that long. But it took me an awful long time because I wanted to make sure, number one, that I got my message straight. I wanted to make sure that I took some bold steps to bring my vision to the public. And it was just an awful lot of hard work. So I often talk about the 5 P's of business success. Personality. I really believe strongly that you need to show your personality, and that you need to have a personality that's different from everyone else to distinguish yourself. I like to talk about product because I think it's very, very important that you have a product that you can share or sell. Persistence, I think, is very, very important. One of the most important things. And I think that you need to share persistence with ambition and passion. And if you don't have the 3, I believe that you can't be successful. People, it's my belief that without people, nothing happens. We're in a people business no matter what you use, including robotics. It takes people to run robotics. People is the single most important thing. And philanthropy, which you'll hear me talk about later. And I think philanthropy is part of your soul, and it's one of the most important things that you can possibly do in giving back. And I talk a lot about giving back. I talk about taking your passions public, and I'd like to share some funny stories as I go along with you. I like to make people laugh. I believe in not taking yourself so seriously, obviously, and I think that you should share that with everybody else as well. When I launched my book, we went to the IDS Center, which is one of the tallest buildings in Minnesota, and as I was coming down the escalator, I had this gorilla take me down the escalator in my traditional red tie. And as you'll see on my book that's in the lobby, which I'd be more than happy to sign for all of you later, that my picture's not on the front book. I didn't take that egotistical step. I put a gorilla on the front of the book, and there are many reasons for it, but one was to separate myself from that. But in taking your passions public, I believe very strongly that you need to do things differently. And there were all kinds of bets that were taken. Who was the person strong enough to hold me and actually bring me down the escalator? And it was myself. We built the costume with a pair of fake legs on the front. And as you can see, I was into primates at an early age. That was me at 18 years old. And I can tell you something I'll share with you a little bit later. Nobody should own a primate. They belong in a zoo. And I made the mistake at one time trying to own one, and I'll share that with you in a couple of minutes. I transformed my St. Louis Park home in Minneapolis into a prototype for Rainforest Cafe. After 7 successful years creating a concept called Jukebox Saturday Night, I had 4 in Chicago, I had 1 in Des Moines, I had 1 in San Francisco, 1 in Springfield, Mass, and then 1 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was a lucky guy. But after 7 years, most nightclubs and theme restaurants have a 3-year lifespan. And after pulling out 7 successful years, we closed. It was very, very sad. I needed to reinvent myself. And I needed to explain to everybody what my new idea was. So I went around and told everybody that I had this idea for a tropical rainforest. And I did a lot of research. I spent months and months and thousands of hours in libraries learning as much as I could about the tropical rainforest. I just happened to have tropical birds, parrots, macaws, and they mirror our lifespan. There's a lot of times that you'll be willing your tropical parrots or macaws to other people. And when I would tell people about my idea about building a tropical rainforest, I said, imagine cascading waterfalls, imagine mists, imagine those butterflies and all those beautiful animals in a tropical rainforest, and then imagine being able to actually eat in a tropical rainforest. And everybody would say, yes, Steve, go for it. And you could see the eyes roll in the back of their head as I walked away. And they would say, call us when you're open. It wasn't a very easy thing to do, so I decided to build a prototype in my home in a suburban neighborhood in St. Louis Park, and that I would share my experience with vendors, my neighbors, and everyone else that I could possibly explain it to, and it wasn't an easy thing to do. It takes courage to change. Change is consistent. Change is evolutionary. Change must happen. Just as necessity is the mother of invention, every entrepreneur knows that change is synonymous with being successful. These carts that you see were old fun carts from an old playland in New York that I actually put on top of golf carts. And I would explain to people when they came to visit with me, whether they were developers, builders of malls, entrepreneurs, people with money that I was trying to get, that they should park down the street from my home and that we would pick them up. And these carts actually had tiki torches and they had tropical music playing on them. So you can imagine in this nice, quiet, soft, suburban neighborhood what my neighbors were thinking as these not so soft and quiet carts rolled down the street. That was my driveway to my suburban neighborhood home. You know, I had waterfalls in my front yard. They were filled with pink antifreeze so that the water wouldn't freeze in the Minnesota weather. I think I was the only person on earth that would actually shovel the snow off the grass so that the green would come through so that I could actually show my tropical rainforest in the middle of winter. What you're seeing in front of you came from an old Victani's health spa. I used to work out at the Victani's health spas and they went out of business. And when they went out of business, so did all their trademarks. And I bought this old Atlas man and I put Rescue the Rainforest on it. And I remember on a Thanksgiving day, all my neighbors were cooking Thanksgiving turkey. And as my neighbors tell the story,